I want attacking, purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And Footscray back in front.
I don't know about you guys, but if I see one bloke walking out of here, give the pat on the back from people out there for a good effort, I'll spew up.
From inside the centre square, Boyd kicked the goal. Boyd kicked the goal from inside the centre.
Hey Pack, welcome to Danny Boyd, a podcast about the most exciting, the best football club in the known universe. That is the Footscray Football Club. They trade us Footscray Football Club for this week, which I absolutely love. I'm Danny McGinlay. Tom Boyd is with me. Now, we should warn you, we're pretty much the two worst people to host a podcast this week because Boydie has been at a wedding on up in Queensland all weekend, and I've been performing Shakespeare in Adelaide because I'm a cultured man. So we haven't really had our fingers on the pulse of what's going on. I've watched highlights. Boydie's aware that a game was on, but we're mostly looking forward to this Friday. You got a pretty sweet gig, my friend.
I do, mate. It's great to be back. As you said, I was at the wonderful Wallace and Brownless wedding. Cats and dogs meeting together. Traitors, you could say. To the bloodline of the rivalry that we have between the two clubs.
Oh, man, it could get bigger. But so Mitch Wallace's little brother, Josh.
That's right.
Married Ruby Brownless, who is Billy's daughter.
Correct.
That's
correct.
Good.
And it was an extravagant affair, as all of you can probably speculate. Wonderful people. They decided that, the typical, wedding into recovery, drive home was not enough. So we did 4 nights in Noosa.
Whoa.
4 nights kid-free, Danny. Longest we've ever had.
How do you get that? I want that.
Well, my mum and dad made us drive to Werribee at 7:30 on Wednesday morning. Dropped the kid off at a service station.
What?
Obviously not by herself, where I met my father. And he drove her down to Anglesey, and then they spent 4 days down there. And, she got home about midday on Sunday. So, and look, can I also say one thing? Fucking Melbourne. I'll tell you what. I leave Noosa after being accosted by a Jetstar employee to make sure that they weigh my carry-on bags. Even though the plane was full. And anyway, I won't describe that person anymore because I'll come out with things that I shouldn't say.
What are you doing flying Jetstar? Come on. You're better than that.
I had to get a 9 o'clock flight back because couldn't get back otherwise until like 7 o'clock at night. And that's a lot to ask your mum and dad to do a whole extra day, basically.
Yeah, okay.
And then I get on the plane, 32 degrees. I arrive back in Melbourne to a very, very rough landing and it raining sideways and being 14 degrees.
Yeah, man.
It's tough. Tough.
I'm not sure we're really coming across as the men of the people that we wanted to be doing for our audience here.
Well, comparative to the wedding I was just at, I feel very much one of the people, Danny. I tell you what, I feel like I am part of the working class.
Well, while we're griping about our weird scenarios, I was in Adelaide, and I was actually staying with a mate who a few listeners might know. His name's Jules Schiller, bit of a radio legend, used to be part of the Crud team, of course, and has done a lot of, been on the project heaps and the back page and whatnot. He is now hosting ABC Radio Breakfast in Adelaide, and Jules is a Hawthorn man. But because he's doing radio in Adelaide, he has to talk about the Crows and Port all the time. And so he's got all these opinions about Hawthorn. So when he would finish breakfast radio, come home about 11 o'clock in the morning, I was up and about, and I would just have to listen to Hawthorn talk. Because, of course, he's excited because Hawthorn are up and about and they're top of the ladder and he's got all this hope. My God, I hate Hawthorn so much. And I'm staying at his house, so I've got to be polite and listen to these opinions and stuff. And I just want them all to do ACLs.
No, you don't. That's a horrible thing to say.
Okay. No, I mean all of the fans.
Can you imagine that? Like all of the accessibility seating is taken up by Hawthorn fans with ACL injuries because you've cursed them, Danny.
Yeah, and then I want the club to go into liquidation.
Yeah. Well, that's probably more likely, I'd say.
All right, let's go for that. That's what I use my wish on.
Danny, we've got obviously there's a big game this weekend. What's the rumblings in the fan base after the weekend? Because again, I've basically been on an island of serenity and a few Carlton drafts. What's the word on the street with regards to this week's game? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? Collingwood have obviously had one really horrible start to the year, and then one really good, strong performance against what seems like maybe the worst team in the comp again. In terms of Port Adelaide, they've seemed to drop through the floor. What's the sentiment?
The sentiment is we're still not sure where we're at. I mean, we did play North and we won, but North have been terrible for a long time, but they are better. I mean, you got such a good young list, and they've brought in some great recruits in like Jack Darling and Caleb Daniel. So it was a very gritty win, and I think we're all happy with it, but we're still not sure where we're at, and we don't know where Collingwood's at. As you said, lost to the Giants, but Giants are probably a lot of people's flag favourites right now, but then smashed Port. But I can tell you, the vibe in Adelaide is Port are going down. No one's really sure where the Crows are at, but everyone sort of agrees that Port are going down. And I did hear a conspiracy theory from someone who works at Channel 7 over there that apparently if Ken Hinkley gets sacked before round 4, he gets his full payout. And so there's a bit of a tanking there. Obviously that's just could be utter nonsense. Probably is, but look, it's very sad for Port. I remember what it was like around 2011 when the Dogs window was well and truly shut, and it's a depressing concept, especially considering Port should have made at least a grand final in the last 6 years. They've lost so many prelims, and look, I don't mind Port. I mean, we smacked them in that prelim 2021 when we weren't expecting to. So, look, we've all been there. So, sorry for the Port fans, but yeah. So, are we going to beat Collingwood? Who knows? We still don't know. I mean, of course we are. We're the Dogs. We're the very injured Dogs. We don't have half our team. But I reckon, look, Ed Richards. Everyone was saying, Ed Richards has got to stand up. I was there saying, there is no way on earth he's not going to stand up. Ed Richards is phenomenal, and he found another gear last year. So, of course, he's going to find another gear this year. I'm really stoked with how he went. I thought Sam Davidson was pretty good. Luke Darcy was quiet, but still, and that other players lifted. Kennedy was really good. I thought he had a bit of mongrel to him, and I think that's exciting for us. Nort's 3 goals. Vandermeer, 3 goals, friend of the show. It was a lot of fun.
It's very confusing, isn't it? It's very confusing to be a person at this time of year. Someone said to me yesterday, hey, well, what's your predictions for the year? I'm like, no predictions mean shit until about the bye.
Yep.
Once the bye comes around, then everyone's basically settled. The teams have settled. Usually injuries have started to settle down. Either you've got terrible injury list or otherwise. Mm-hmm. But right at the moment in time, it could go either way. Now, not that I'm a big betting man. In fact, I've never had a betting account in my life. And in fact, I reckon I probably bet $250 in my entire existence, all of which have been at the races or at the tab. But there's a 10-point advantage to the Pies that they're giving on the line, as they call it.
Oh, really?
And their favourites $1.57 to $2.42. So I actually think this is perfectly poised because I'm not sure Collingwood are that good, and this is going to come back to bite me, no doubt.
Yeah. Mate, I'm feeling that. I'm right as we was waiting to do this pod. I started writing the banner for against Carlton. I'm like, I just could see all the responses already coming. But yes, carry on. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. We are in a position where we do, I think, have to be realistic about what we're looking to see. We want to see these great showings from our boys who are improving. Ed Richards is a great example of, was last year a one-off blip that we see him become one of the premier players in our team?
No way.
Or is it one that we see him poised to really add the missing element to our midfield that we have been talking about all preseason, which is we don't have a lot of speed in there combined with strength, and we have an aging population in there with Libba, Adstralaw and Bonte having done the vast majority of work over the last few years. So I think if we continue to see the improvement there, this is the political view of it, is that's really, really positive, regardless if we have a win this week. But having said that, if we get blown out by 50, 60 points on what is arguably the biggest game on the calendar for the year to date, or definitely to date, but certainly probably for the rest of the year, it never goes down well when you lose milestone games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You want milestone games to be a success.
Yeah, and we don't. I think we've been pretty good at milestone games in the past. I remember, Chris Grant breaking Doug Hawkins' record. We won. Brad Johnson's 300s was one of the greatest 300s of all time. Yeah.
Rowan Smith's 300s.
Rowan Smith's 300 not as good. And by the way, thanks to everyone who came to the live show. We had a great time with Bubba Smith and Adam Cooney and Dimmer and Bigsy, of course. And it was just a great afternoon. Thank you to all of the pack who came out. And we are doing another event very soon. We'll have an on-air meeting at the end of this episode to nut out the details of that. But that one you will probably be free. So, all of you can come along and from the comfort of your own home. Anyway, let's move on. I'm annoyed it's at the MCG, to be honest. I know we will need more experience playing there and we'll get more money for the club. But why are we playing Collingwood? It's their home ground. Why can't we play, Sydney at the MCG? We've got a good record against them, against the MCG. But I guess they want the cauldron-like atmosphere. But it will be just an absolute love fest, especially with the pre-match ceremony. What is happening, Boydie? What can you tell us? Are you guts deep in rehearsals?
Oh, yeah. I think, actually, that's a very good question. I think I'm supposed to get there at 6:10. For all of you that are listening, 7:10 is the time that the pre-match ceremony starts. As I understand it, Bob Murphy's going to be doing some stuff. There's going to be a number of players from 4 different eras on the ground, of which I am one of, as the token person who I imagine is retired and somewhat notable.
Oh, no. There's a few, hang on, they have released this. It was on AFL 360 last night. I wonder if it's on socials. You keep telling us while I look this up.
So we're going to be out there on the ground. We're going to have like a number of different things presented, I think, in terms of like a video, something or other. I don't know. And then the players, I imagine, will come out to do their pre-match warm-up. So it'll be pretty fun, I reckon, honestly. It'll be one of those things where at least by the time of the first bounce, everyone will feel like that we won.
Yeah.
Because it'll be about us. Now, I think there's a really nice ceremonial tint to doing it at the MCG, given that it's 100 years since we joined the VFL is what we're celebrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the point?
That is correct.
And I also think that, let's be really optimistic here. Hopefully we get 80,000 people turning up to this game day.
Hell yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, Collingwood fans will be coming as well. They're bandwagoners.
That's right. There's all sorts of reasons why that there should be people in the crowd. We're both won one game for the year. Obviously, they've played 2, had a terrible one and a really dominant performance last week. We played 10 players down against North Melbourne and still beat them. I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But it should be really fun. And there'll be a heap of stuff going on throughout the game. I got asked to do something that I said no to because my back's no good, but they asked me to do like a kick and catch competition at quarter time. Linda, I'm very, very sorry. I wish I could do it, but you don't want me kicking and blowing out my back on national television. That's not going to be a great idea. But it should be really fun. I'm actually as much as I've been to a few games, obviously, over the last few years, this is probably the one that I'm looking forward to most. It's at the MCG. We don't get to play many games there, let alone home games, which is almost never. So I think it'll be an absolute magical night. Let's hope we get the chocolates, as they say.
So I can't find who's there, but I can remember from AFL 360 last night, there is some familiar faces, friends of the show, going to be part of it. Doug Hawkins will be there, Tony Liberatore, Rowan Smith, Adam Cooney, fresh from doing the live show at the Comics Lounge, Tom Boyd, of course, and I think Gary Dempsey is the oldest player who'll be out there, Brownlow medalist. So, is there choreography? Are you just standing out there waving, or are you going to recreate great moments?
Oh, don't know. I can't talk about that yet.
Oh, okay, sweet. All right, no, I'll keep it secret.
Absolutely not. No, I don't know. I think what were literally my role. As for key chapters are read out, will be enter the stadium waving to the crowds as their names are acknowledged. Oh, this is like the retirement in the Hilux that I never got.
There you go. Yes.
I'm pretty rapt that I didn't do one of those, but also I get to join the Guard of Honour for team entry. So I get a few slaps on the backs, a few high fives from the boys, I imagine, as they come past.
That's good.
Maybe just, give them a bit of a rev up.
That's it.
Good.
Do Collingwood run past at all? Can you do
kicks in the ankle?
Do a few trip-ups?
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, Dakes.
Imagine that. Imagine I wear my studs out there, my long studs, and accidentally step on a few feet.
You still
Wouldn't
got
that
them?
be fun? Oh, I can find some. I might have to sharpen it, file them down as they used to do. Remember when they used to do that?
No.
Just get the bloody metal file out, sharpen them down so that when you
God.
step on people, it's standing with daggers rather than the flat bottom studs that most of the players have. They always used to check us when we were kids playing junior footy in the wet. They used to come up and the umpires would rub their hands on the bottom of your studs to make sure they're up. Let's just say that my dad's era, they wouldn't have passed a single one of those tests.
I'm thinking we got to get your dad on. You tell so many stories about him. We got to hear hear some of the origin stories of Tom Boyd.
Well, here's the thing. There's a reason I tell the stories because my dad is not a storyteller during the day. He's a storyteller at about 7:30 at night.
So I think I know when we're recording then.
Yeah, we should do it at the watch along. Maybe if we do it for the Carlton game, we can get him to come along and watch him suffer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he is a Carlton fan. I keep forgetting that.
Oh, well, I didn't because I remember watching the first round up in Noosa on, what was that, Thursday night?
Yes.
Sitting there watching it and texting Dad going, Jeff, are you watching the footy? What happened, mate? What happened? Richmond are the worst team ever. We've been talking about them all pre-season. They're not going to win a single game for the year, and they beat your mob from 46 points behind.
It was so I was performing, and we could run backstage in certain scenes that you're not in. And there's only one other bloke in the show who's a footy fan. His name's Rick Brown. Has a Geelong podcast, so he's a nice enough guy. And we run back and we just go, oh, Richmond is still in it. And then I remember we said about halfway through the third quarter, wouldn't it be funny if Richmond beat Carlton? Wouldn't that be fun? And then, talked about how unlikely it is. And then we came back and, oh my God. I mean, we've had some dark times as Bulldogs fans. If we lose to Collingwood, we'll be annoyed, but that is nothing compared to losing to the bottom team after you're supposed to have this breakthrough season.
And it's also so funny because they had 10 years of this shit, always losing to Richmond in round one. And they finally broke the curse, must have been 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
And then Richmond got so bad that the AFL said, you know what we're going to do? We're actually not going to change round one. We're going to invent an imaginary floating round before it so that no one has to, in isolation, watch Richmond play to start the year. And then they come out and do this,
Yeah.
Get rid of round zero. Bring back Richmond v Carlton to start the year. If I get to watch Richmond beat my father's and family's team,
no, I hate it. I hate that Richmond and Carlton get that free hit every year. I say this I don't like that Collingwood and Essendon get Anzac Day. I don't like that. I think that should be. I believe Anzac Day should be the grand final rematch. Because a lot of people say the first game of the year should be the grand final rematch, and I go, no, that's unfair because teams are always not as good in round one. Anzac Day, it's like round 4 or 5. They've got their energy up. They know what they're doing. That's when you do the grand final rematch.
Yep. Yeah.
Because Collingwood and Essendon got enough money.
Yeah, but
I'm never going to win, but that's just what I reckon.
Actually, here's the problem. We joined the AFL, the VFL 100 years ago, or whatever. And we were never big enough 100 years ago to really lock down a lot of those traditional games.
Well, they only kicked in the 90s and early 2000s. And look, we got one in Good Friday and they took it off us.
Yeah, but they were big clubs. We got a big game on Good Friday, did we? Against North Melbourne?
Well, at least it was it was going to be something that every year the Dogs play the Roos on Good Friday.
No, I know, but here's my thing, right? So the reason why I said 100 years ago that these clubs were the bigger ones is the reason why that they were the biggest in the 90s is the same reasons, because they've been around the longest, they've got the biggest fan bases, and so they get the big games. Now, if you ask me, Danny, who should we play in a rivalry game, I'd probably rather play just about the Giants than North Melbourne, who, frankly, over the last 10 years have been the worst club in the league and have got dwindling membership of about 20,000 fucking people, you know?
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm happy.
And above the Giants, I'd rather probably play St Kilda, because at least they're sort of in our ballpark, not in terms of recent success, but in terms of the fact that they're like a working class club, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't want to play the smallest club in the league other than the expansion clubs. Well, that sounds terrible. Why don't we go try and pick one? I'd rather play bloody Fremantle, you know, in Fremantle.
The Bob Murphy Cup. Best on ground gets the...
At least they've got 60,000 members or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
I
just want the game to be a big game. That's my whole thing. I want it to be a big game that means something rather than, whilst everyone's eating fish and can't buy any alcohol, we get to sit down and watch the footy on Good Friday.
All right, well, we'll play the Giants every Good Friday or something. Yeah, I'm not sure which day it should be. Anyway, it doesn't. The reason, just going back to something else you said, you say the reason these clubs get the big one is because they're the biggest with the big fan base. Yeah, because they cheated for most of the last century. Carlton with all their, brown paper bags, Essendon, using Squizzy Taylor to, knock out other opposition fans, opposition players. They were just the richest clubs. And this is why we're celebrating this week, because we have survived against all the odds being stacked against us.
Can I infer from that statement? Because if I'm inferring the right thing, I theoretically agree with you, that the Bulldogs have never, ever, not once, either bent or broken the rules in the illustrious history of our footy club.
That's correct. I mean, every free kick against us is just a travesty of justice. So we're the nicest team ever. I mean, you played. You never broke the rules.
No, I don't think so. No one's investigating us for salary cap cheating. I'll tell you that much.
Oh no!
Everyone.
Oh my God!
Off.
This.
I'll tell you what though. I can guarantee there were some funny things going on at the old social club back in the day, if I had to guess, with money coming in and money going out and money going in circles, but especially when accounting was done on sheets of paper.
Yeah, but that was just probably working out which charity we were going to donate to and which orphans we were going to adopt, and
what's the
salt of the earth.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you looked at our success rate, we probably weren't trying then.
We weren't cheating enough. Or if we were cheating, we were no good at it. That's the funny part.
I think that could be it. Do you know there's a famous story in Martin Flanagan's book of apparently in the 50s when we were, winning flags and stuff, you had to be a member of the trade union to be a player at Footscray. And there was some big name player, like Brownlow medalist, multiple Brownlow medalists. I don't know who, but wanted to come and play for the Dogs for a bit of glory hunting. But because he hadn't joined his trade union, we didn't allow him.
Wow.
I don't know. Did you?
Wow.
Can you play AFL without being a member of the APA?
AFLPA.
Oh, AFL, sure.
Yeah, sure.
You can? All right. So you
honestly don't even know what you miss out on.
Yeah, Patrick Dangerfield surely sends you a newsletter every now and then.
Well, it's not like they can't include you in the CBA because the CBA's... See, here's the thing about our union. Our union's relationship with the league is very different to other leagues around the world, right? Because in the other leagues, the players are paid on average a lot more. Mm-hmm. And so they contribute a lot more to the AFLPA or the equivalent to then go and lobby against the league that they're playing against, right? Whereas they only charge like $700 or $800 or something like that to be a part of the AFLPA, which is hardly enough to fund a legal battle against the, $1.4 billion a year competition that you're a part of. And if you really look into it, most of the funding for the AFLPA, as I understand it, comes from the AFL. It seems like a conflict, but let's not dig too deep into that one.
No. I'm sure if there was ever needed a giant schism between the two, Peter Gordon would be able to do it for free, and he would win for the players.
Yeah, not sure he'd be on our side, to be honest with you.
Well, the AFL would just do the Carlton move and just pay him more, and he'd go represent them.
Yeah, so the AFL will just hire all of the best lawyers in the country, so they all have a inability to represent the opposition in any of these cases. It's exactly what I imagine would happen. I think that isn't that a scene out of The Sopranos where Tony and his wife are getting divorced, and all of a sudden,
Yes.
his wife goes to see all of these advanced or best legal firms in the state or in the area, and they'll go, "We can't represent you. We're actually on the payroll of Tony."
Yep.
That's what I imagine. That's the mafia shit that I imagine the AFL would pull. But in the other leagues, like you've got guys who contribute like 5% of their salary or 3% or whatever. And then they have this huge pool of resources that they save over a long period of time because they're not using it on a yearly basis. They're only using it essentially as the collective bargaining agreements come up, which is usually every 4 or 5 years. And then they have this big argument about, give us more money or more bloody education or healthcare or whatever. What I will say is that the AFL and the AFLPA have done a very good job at is in most of those leagues, like players don't have lifetime healthcare. They don't have lifetime mental support. They don't have hardship support. They don't have all these things that the AFLPA, if I was going to give them one significant praise, is that for all the guys who finish, they have an ability to obviously get their medical bills supported and those types of things for injuries sustained within their AFL career, both mental and physical, which I think is fundamentally probably the most important thing that players need post-footy.
Yeah, I didn't know they got that. That's actually good to know. Do you get that because your back's still rooted?
Yeah. So orthopedic stuff for the rest of my life.
Really? That's handy.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. Like for players in particular, have obviously had careers where maybe they didn't earn a lot of money or whatever. It can that's a medical bill like that where you've injured your knee or something, and all of a sudden at 25 or 35 or 45 or whatever, all of a sudden you need a replacement or something really significant. That's what derails people's lives, like those big bills that come out of nowhere that you sustained, obviously trying to chase your dream when you were a younger man. So, yeah, I think that's probably the best thing that they do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure the AFLPA was around 100 years ago, Danny, if I'm guessing.
I'd say not.
But I would also say that, I do want to make sure, and I'm sure that everyone who's listening to this knows, obviously the Bulldogs weren't created in 1925.
No, 1883.
1877
What?
is what I've got.
Really? So we've got 1883 on all our merch.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like that's when it was established. I don't know. It says that originally the name Footscray Football Club cites a foundation of 1877, won 9 premierships in the VFA before gaining admission into the Victorian Football League in 1925.
Yeah. Smashing Essendon for the title of Champions of Victoria and therefore the world, which has never been, no one's ever fought for that title again. So we are the reigning world champions.
It's hard. We are for 140 years or whatever it is. 125, I suppose 100 years would be because it was 1925 when that game was played. Is that right?
Yep. 1920, end of 1924.
Such club historians believe the club was actually established in 1876, though the official date is cited as 1877. Both dates of formation have been challenged by historians.
Oh, well, the club historian Andrew Gigach was at our live show, and he's got the book, the updated history of the Footscray Football Club is coming out in a few months that he's been working on. So maybe
I can't wait to read that.
Yeah, it should be good.
This is one of the craziest things I've ever read. Initially, the club played at the Northern Reserve, also known at Market Reserve, between Barclay Street and Geelong Road, which I imagine is Western. Isn't that just Whitten Oval? Geelong Road and...
Yeah, Barclay Street and Geelong Road, yeah.
In 1880, the club changed its name to the Prince Imperials in honour of Napoleon, Prince Imperial, the heir to the French throne, who had recently died in battle.
Yeah, I've looked into that. It's not good. They died in battle kind of colonising Africa, which is just not the best optics. But it's why we wear red, white and blue for France. But it's,
tough. It's tough to put your 140-year later hat on and be like, optics is not great.
Yeah.
They're obviously, let me say this, if the club decided to do a history and put that part up in lights and be like, this is what we're proud of, probably not great optics.
Yeah, no, it's not like it's like Eddie Maguire when the racism report came out. This is a proud and historic day.
Yeah, don't read the report, but important we did it.
Yeah. So we're not that. I'm glad we changed the name back. I wouldn't like to be supporting the Prince Imperials right now, but you know. I'm so stoked we're Footscray again. Like I've had many texts from people, non-Bulldogs fans, even going, "Oh, is this permanent?" And I go, "No, it's just for this week." And they go, you should just keep it that way."
This is the great issue. This is a great issue because I could not agree with you more, Danny. Footscray feels like the lifeblood of that club.
Damn straight.
And of our club. And I think that the combination, like this week, is because the VFL hasn't started yet, has it?
Correct.
But imagine that it had, again, for one of the couple of times, I suppose, in the last 15 years where Footscray and Footscray run out as the VFL and the AFL.
Yeah, it would have been good.
So nice.
Yep.
It's so nice. But I think that the actual reference, I'm just reading through this Wikipedia, which is always the most trusted news source in the world. So when they combined with Footscray Cricket Club,
oh yeah,
that was 1886. So that's when they consider that they moved from a junior club to a senior club, is what it's saying in this article, which means that is probably what they're referring to.
But it's 83.
Even though we 1886.
Yeah, well, 1883 is what's on the merch, though.
It's all very confusing. Isn't it?
You know what other podcasts would have done? Research this before on air.
You know what they did, actually? The club would revert to back to Footscray in 1882, adopting the name of the local borough during the annual general meeting, which means that probably 1883 they were back as the Footscray again, even though they were Footscray. Why don't we just claim an extra few years? Let's just move the date back. It sounds better.
It's also weird to name yourself the Prince Imperials after just like, you know, something that's happening in the news. Like, you know, Napoleon had died and stuff. It's like if we just call ourselves the Vladimir Zelensky Football Club, just in honour of, which I'm fine with for a couple of rounds, you know, of course, Slava Ukraini. But, you know, it would be weird. You know, the Kamala Harris Football Club.
Well, here's the thing, though, Danny, because if you're going to do Vladimir, then you've got to consider the other.
No, I'm not doing it. No, we don't have to. It's not on the ABC, mate. We don't have to be balanced here.
No, I'm just saying that, see, if you give free rein to people, some clubs will choose one side and some clubs will choose the other, depending on the president of the day, you know? I think, you know, like the other part about this is, you know, it's such a – I'm not sure about Footscray's history, but I don't recall there being a large French population there at any stage.
I mean, we didn't have too many French people come to Australia anyway. At all.
No? Like
because they got Africa and we, you know, us British people invaded this bit of the world. So, by the way, do you know what the name Footscray even means? It's named after Footscray, two separate words, which is an area southeast of London, named after Godwin Foote, a Saxon recorded in the Domesday Book of 1086 as the owner of the land and the River Cray. So it belongs to some bloke called Godwin.
I have always thought it just sounds like the suburb.
Oh, totally.
Footscray sounds like the suburb. It sounds like, because it's quite close to Footscrape.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that in the nicest way of like, I just imagine like tannery workers and blue collar guys like just using their strength and their might and their will to push their boots along the ground to get some piece of work done.
Yeah.
Is what I imagine.
That's pretty good. It's also why we're called the Dogs, because what do you have to normally scrape off your foot?
I thought you were going to say something else then, I've got to be honest.
No, we're being... Mate, that's a good some good dog poo related humour for everyone.
Can I? All right, to finish this history lesson.
Yes.
Let me just read the titles of the eras that they've got here, because this is very much in synchronicity with this weekend's theme of the 100 years, right?
Okay.
1877 to 1880s, origins. Nice, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
1880s to 1924, VFA years and Championship of Victoria.
Dominance.
Great.
Yes.
Touched on that. 1925 to 1940s, joining the VFL. Nice.
Yep.
Very strong. 1950 to 1954, first VFL flag. Another good one.
Great era.
1955 to 1960s, gradual decline. 1970s, dash.
Yeah.
The first sentence, Ted Whitten Sr. Bang. Perfect.
That's all you need.
1980s. After muddling its way through a disappointing decade,
Oh, wow.
having to sell many of its key players to survive.
Oof.
1989, proposed merger and fight back. Love it.
Yep.
1990s. They begin the new decade in promising fashion, finishing in 7th place with 12 wins in 1990. After a disappointing 91, and so on. And then 2000s, they don't have a headline either.
There's no Tom Boyd era?
There's a Luke Beveridge era, 2015 to present.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
And there is a full decompression of the 99,981 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground on October 1st, 2016.
It was a pretty good day.
Post-premiership disappointment.
Oh, dear. Oh, God.
2009 to 22. Return to the finals.
Hey.
Anyway, there's our history in a nutshell in case all of us didn't know it already.
Pretty good. So, all right. So we're going to wrap up soon, but before we just talk about so Friday night, get there by 7:10 to see Boydie on the ground and drink in all the history. And even if we do lose, I don't think. Look, we don't know. That's what we're ultimately saying. Neither of us are particularly sure. Like, obviously, with full strength side, we would absolutely smash Magpies, but they're in good nick. We're playing with a lot of key players out. I still reckon we can do it, but we'll find out. But yeah, just drink in the Footscray feeling before the match and enjoy and all that we've achieved. It's a time for reflection and all that. The next event we're going to have is Saturday, 12th of April, when we play the Lions for Gather Round. Now, I get to go to Gather Round for one day because the front bar films there and I'll be working. But then I have to leave on the Thursday, right as everyone else is coming. So it's like I'm dropping off. I go to the party, I help set up, and then I leave. Don't get to stay for it, which is really annoying. But we are hoping to do a live watch-along party where Boydie and I will be live on YouTube. So you can watch the game on TV, and we will be watching the game live on TV, but you'll be able, if you set up a screen, we will be having our live reaction to it. We'll talk. Boydie will talk about what the tactics are. I'll be talking about where the best pies are you can get in Adelaide. And you can just sit with your mates and, I think you can comment and stuff. We're both pretty inexperienced when it comes to these live things, but they seem to be popular and we reckon it'll be a lot of fun. So if you're watching that game and you want to hear what the two idiots that you love reckon, just tune in. Yeah, it'll be free, obviously. I don't know how we monetize this, but I don't know, we'll hawk the Patreon.
Yeah, spend the whole time telling everyone to sign up to the Patreon.
And please do. Do it now. $5 a month. Do it.
Well, the other thing is, Danny, that we also spoke at our live show about the absolute necessity of us doing a 10-year reunion with the fans next year at the Comics Lounge. I think we'll do it that weekend. So if you aren't booking out that weekend, the weekend before the start of the 2026 AFL season, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. That's the weekend to book out because we're going to have all of the past players, as many as we can squeeze in, all of the premiership heroes. We're going to get everyone along. We're going to make it an absolute 10-year reunion fiesta, one that you probably or definitely wouldn't be a part of otherwise. So make sure you lock out that date. I know it's 12 months in advance. I can't find when we're playing on this Gather Round, Danny. What date are we playing?
We're playing Saturday, the 12th of April at 4:15. So it's the twilight match or drive time, as I call it, because I'm a radio guy. And playing the Lions at Norwood Oval. God, that would be awesome to be at. One of the suburban grounds, seeing where the Redlegs play. I wish I could be there, but I can't. Second best place I could be is on a couch with my friend Boydie as we talk through it.
That's it. How good.
Yeah. Should be fun. I think we've got. We might have an official stats man joining us. So if we want to know, how many kicks has Bont had or anything, we'll be able to throw to a stats man who is only at that stage will be 11 years old. We're talking my son, but he's keen to help out.
That'll be very helpful.
Yeah,
Big Teddy.
Yep. the wee man. Sweet. So enjoy the game Friday night, everyone. Have you got anything else to plug, Boydie? I mean, this is just a pretty sweet gig that you got on Friday.
Yeah, no, just get there. Danny said 7:10. Get there earlier because there'll be a feeling in the air of Footscray being the great celebrant of the day, because it'll be all things 100 years old. I'm sure there'll be a lot of history, merchandise. If you're not thinking about coming, just make sure you get a ticket, because these things don't roll around every day. I know there's people coming from interstate ready to go down and see the game. So make sure you get there nice and early. Treat it like a final, if you will.
Yeah.
A final in March.
Do you know what else? Wear your oldest merch. 100-year celebration. Wear the merch that says Footscray, if you've got it. Wear something old,
Absolutely.
just to give the retro Footscray feel. I reckon that's a good idea. Let's all do that. I'm gonna bring out my scarf from 1991, which I wore to the 2016 Grand Final. And also, while I'm plugging things, fundraiser for Ukraine on Saturday, 29th of March at the Victoria Hotel. We just did one in Adelaide. Had Ross Noble, Stephen K. Amos, Lawrence Mooney, Ting Lim McNevin, great comedians. I've booked some amazing acts. One I can't mention, Arch Barker. Dilruk Jai Singh is going to be there. We've got Anissa Nandula, who's a fantastic comedian who's just been announced as one of the new people on Taskmaster. So it's going to be awesome. 4:00 at the Vic Hotel. All proceeds go to the Ukraine Crisis Appeal, and that will sell out. So buy your tickets now, people.
I gave my childhood to that roar of the red, white, and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had to love the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there. And they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.